You think you want something. A person, a lifestyle, a level of success, a certain body, a certain status, a certain version of your life that finally feels complete. And you're convinced that once you get it, the hunger will stop. But here's the question most people never ask. What if you don't actually want the thing? What if the thing is just the costume, and what you really want is the desire itself? Because there's a brutal psychological trap hiding inside human motivation. Sometimes the goal isn't satisfaction. The goal is to keep wanting. That's not just a poetic idea. It's one of the most unsettling insights in psychoanalysis, especially in the work of Jacques Lacan. And today you don't need to study Lacan to live inside his trap. Social media, advertising, dating culture, and status games have turned desire into an industry. They don't sell you products. They sell you a feeling you can never permanently own. So in this episode of Dark Psychology 101, we're going to expose the desire trap. Not to make you cynical, to make you harder to manipulate. Because if someone can control what you desire, they can control your life. Let's start with something simple. Have you ever chased something for months, maybe years, and the moment you finally got it, you felt a strange emptiness? Not happy and grateful, more like, is that it? And then almost immediately your mind moved the goalpost. A better version, a bigger version, a new target. That moment is not random. That moment is the system working exactly as designed. Lacan would say, desire is not aimed at an object. Desire is structured like a gap, a lack, something missing. And the object you think you want is often just a placeholder your mind uses to give shape to that missing feeling. In other words, desire isn't I want that. Desire is something is missing and I need a story for why. Now here's where it gets darker. Your desires are not purely yours, they're social. You learn what to desire by watching what others desire. You don't just want a car. You want the car that signals something. You don't just want a relationship. You want the relationship that proves something. You don't just want money. You want what money means in the eyes of others. This is the first brutal rule of desire. We often desire through other people. And that makes desire incredibly exploitable. Because if I can shape the crowd's desire, I can shape yours. So how does this work in real life? Let's talk about the object that sits at the center of Lacan's theory. The thing that seems to be what you want, but isn't. Lacan calls it the object cause of desire. Not the object you desire, but the object that causes desire. The trigger, the spark, the bait. That's why you can get the thing and still not feel satisfied. Because you didn't want the thing. You wanted what it promised emotionally. You wanted the fantasy attached to it. You wanted the identity it would give you. You wanted the relief it would provide. You wanted the story, if I have this, I will finally be whole. But wholeness is the one thing desire can't tolerate, because if you become whole, desire dies. And if desire dies, your ego loses its engine. So the system quietly keeps you incomplete. Now I want you to notice something about modern life. The most profitable industries are not selling objects. They're selling incompleteness. Beauty industry. You're almost attractive, but not quite. Fitness industry. You're almost in shape, but not quite. Luxury industry. You're almost high status, but not quite. Dating apps. You're almost chosen, but not quite. They keep the gap alive because the gap creates motion. And motion creates spending, chasing, scrolling, working, posting. So here's the dark psychology angle. If someone wants to control you, they don't have to threaten you. They can seduce you. They can keep you chasing a moving target. They can make you invest your entire identity into a desire that never resolves. Now let's bring this into relationships, because this is where it hurts the most. Have you ever been obsessed with someone who gives you just enough, but never fully gives you peace? They reply sometimes. They disappear sometimes. They praise you sometimes. They withhold sometimes. And you become addicted. Why? Because uncertainty intensifies desire. When something is guaranteed, your nervous system relaxes. When something is uncertain, your nervous system becomes hyper-focused. Your brain starts scanning for signals, reading texts like sacred texts, replaying conversations, analyzing tone, imagining futures. That's not love. That's a reward schedule, a psychological slot machine. And it works because your desire isn't attached to the person as they are. It's attached to the gap they created inside you. The person becomes the object cause of your desire, not because they are perfect, but because they represent an unanswered question. Am I chosen? Am I enough? Will I win? That's why the most addictive relationships are often not the healthiest. They are the ones that keep the gap open. Now, if you're starting to feel this, good. Because here's the most brutal part. Desire doesn't want to be satisfied. Desire wants to survive. So the moment you get close to satisfaction, your mind often sabotages it. You find flaws, you get restless, you start craving novelty. You pick fights, you lose interest, you suddenly want something else. And then you tell yourself a story. I guess it wasn't the right person. I guess it wasn't the right job. I guess it wasn't the right city. But sometimes it was right. You just couldn't tolerate the death of the chase. This is the tragedy of desire. It can turn your entire life into a series of almosts. Almost happy, almost loved, almost successful, almost complete. Always chasing the next object that promises closure. Now you might ask, okay, if desire is a trap, what's the escape? Before we go there, we need to expose one more layer. The most manipulative desires are the ones tied to identity. Not I want this, but I am the kind of person who has this. This is where brands become religions. This is where ideologies become identities. This is where status becomes self-worth. Because once desire attaches to identity, you will defend it like your life depends on it. You will justify choices that harm you. You will spend money you don't have. You will stay in relationships that drain you. You will work jobs that slowly erase you, all to protect a story. This is who I am. Lacan's insight here is cold but accurate. The ego is built out of images. Not just what you are, but how you imagine yourself being seen. So desire becomes performative. You desire what makes you look like something. And that means desire is not just internal, it's theatrical. Now we can finally talk about the escape. The escape isn't to kill desire, that's impossible. The escape is to stop being possessed by it. To stop letting desire write your identity. To stop confusing wanting with meaning. Here are 3 practical moves that break the desire trap. Move 1, separate the object from the fantasy. When you want something badly, ask, what do I believe this will fix in me? Be precise, not it will make me happy. What exactly? Will it make you feel respected, safe, chosen, superior, calm, loved? Then ask the dangerous follow-up. Is there another way to get that feeling that doesn't require this object? Because often, the object is just your brain's easiest story. You're not craving the car. You're craving the feeling of being seen as powerful. You're not craving the relationship. You're craving the feeling of being finally chosen. You're not craving the promotion. You're craving relief from insecurity. Once you see the fantasy, the object loses some power. Move 2. Watch what you desire when nobody is watching. This is the purity test. If you lived on a planet where nobody could ever see your life, your purchases, your achievements, what would you still want? That question separates your desires from social programming. It's uncomfortable because it exposes how much of your wanting was borrowed. Move 3. Get good at having without collapsing. This is the hardest one. Learn to receive something you wanted without immediately needing a new target. When you achieve something, hold it. Let it land. Let your nervous system adapt. Because if you instantly move the goalpost, you train your brain that satisfaction is dangerous, temporary, untrustworthy. You become addicted to motion. And motion is the enemy of peace. Now let's connect this back to dark psychology. If someone wants to manipulate you, they will often do one of these 3 things. They will create a lack in you. They will attach that lack to them. They will keep you chasing. They might do it with romance, they might do it with status, they might do it with ideology. They might do it with a promise. Follow me, buy this, become this, and then you'll finally be whole. But wholeness can't be purchased. And anyone selling you wholeness is selling you a leash. Because once you believe you need them to become complete, you're controllable. So how do you become uncontrollable? You become someone who can feel desire without obeying it. Someone who can want without being owned. Someone who can chase goals without turning goals into identity. That doesn't mean you stop wanting. It means you stop worshipping what you want. And that's the real freedom Lacan accidentally points toward. Because if desire is structured like a lack, you have 2 options. Spend your life filling the lack with objects, or learn to live with the lack without panic. That sounds depressing at first, but it's actually mature. It's the difference between a child who screams when they want something and an adult who can want something and still be okay. So here's the final question, the one that turns this from theory into a mirror. Think of the thing you want most right now, not what you should want, what you actually want. Now ask yourself, if you got it tomorrow, what would you want next? And if you already know the next thing, then maybe the desire was never about the object. Maybe it was about keeping the gap alive. And if that's true, then you're not chasing a goal. You're chasing a feeling of becoming, a feeling of movement, a feeling of not being stuck with yourself. So maybe the real desire isn't "I want that." Maybe it's "I don't want to sit with what I feel right now." That's the trap, and also the exit. Because once you can sit with yourself, the world becomes less able to hypnotize you. Now I want to hear from you. What's something you chased that didn't satisfy you the way you expected? And what do you think you were really trying to get from it? Drop it in the comments. Be honest, no shame. Because the moment you name the desire, it loses some of its control.